If you're anything like me, you've planned out this birth to a T, and you're just trying to get some insight if your birth plan will actually happen. Well, stay tuned to hear all about my 41-hour birth story. Coming right up. Welcome to my YouTube channel, the greatest place for moms to find encouragement, inspiration, and realness for their motherhood journey. So, this channel is all about Kempnitreal, okay? So, let me just start by saying labor and delivery was crazy. I'm so happy that it's over. But on the flip side, thinking back, labor and delivery was probably one of the easiest parts of motherhood. So my birthing plan was, in a nutshell, is I wanted everything to be natural. I didn't want an epidural. I wanted baby girl to come on her own. I didn't want to be induced. I just wanted that natural birthing experience that I saw on YouTube, that I've heard other women go through. And I kept telling myself, my body is meant to birth this child. So hopefully I can do it the way that so many women before me have done. So that is what I planned. And I mean, I had this whole plan scripted out to a T. I mean, I was like, okay, we're going to do this. I had my music playlist. I made sure I was going to have a yoga ball in the hospital room. I went to the birthing classes. I psyched myself up for the Ring of Fire. Do you know what that is? If you don't, just YouTube Ring of Fire pregnancy. And then you'll learn all about the Ring of Fire. So I was psyched. I was pumped. I was ready to go whenever baby girl was ready to come. Yeah, that was my plan. So that was my plan. But what actually happened was completely different. So I went past my due date and my doctor asked me, I was a day past my due date, and the doctor said, hey, you know, on Friday, just go ahead and go to the hospital and get checked. Just make sure everything's good with you. Everything's good with the baby. I'm thinking, no problem. I'll go in on Friday, check everything out. We'll be out in no time. My husband was with me. My mom was with me. We were like, we'll go to the grocery store. We're planning to have this big barbecue the weekend because I'm like, it seems like she's stubborn. She's not coming anytime soon. Yeah, no. So I went to get checked, and all of a sudden the nurse comes in and she's like, your blood pressure's high. Not preeclampsia high, but just high enough to cause concern. And your doctor is saying that you can't go home and that you're going to deliver sometime this weekend. So on one hand, I'm super pumped. My baby girl is coming. On the other hand, y'all, the bags were still at home. I packed mostly everything, but just my toiletries that I was going to throw in after my water broke. All right. So yeah, I was bummed that already my plan was going completely awry. And I had no choice but to get admitted to the hospital. And there starts my birth story. So I get admitted on that Friday around noonish. I didn't have those bags, so my husband ran out, got us food, because you have to eat before you deliver. He got us some pizza. He comes back with the hospital bags. And by about 3 o'clock, I was given my first induction medication. I was given Cervidil. And remember, I didn't want any induction medication. So I'm feeling bummed, but at the same time, I'm really excited because I know baby girl is coming and I finally get to meet her. So in my disappointment, I was also really excited because I was getting to meet baby girl really soon. So I get that first induction medication of Cervidil, and by 9 o'clock, I'm 0 centimeters. 0. So Cervidil didn't work. My first induction medication completely didn't work. My doctor's like, okay, tomorrow, if you're still not dilated, I'm going to try a different induction medication. So Friday basically was a hospital stay. Like, I just was chilling, playing cards, having a little bit of contractions here and there, but no dilation. Fast forward to Saturday morning, nurse comes in and does a cervix check, and guess what? You guessed, 0 centimeters. So they're like, okay, let's call your doctor. Doctor calls back and says, all right, go ahead and give her the second induction medication. So the second induction medication, Cytotec, the nurse comes in, administers that. She's like, okay, it was one of those ones where so many hours you have to check and see. She checked after so many hours, 0 centimeters. I mean, I am not dilating. So nurses keep coming in. They're checking my cervix. I'm really frustrated at this point because this is 2 induction medications that I've been given and no dilation. I'm like, see, I could have just gone according to plan. You could have let me stay at home, but no. Had to get admitted. My blood pressure had to be high. You know, it's like those things that you just can't control. So I want you to remember that. You cannot control everything. So after so many cervix checks, I was just frustrated. So I remember asking the nurse, I was like, seriously, I'm still at 0 centimeters. So the nurse, I think, felt bad for me in that moment. And she was like, let me go get this other nurse that usually always can feel something if you dilated even just a little bit. So in walks Nurse Fat Fingers. And I mean this with my whole heart. Her fingers look like sausages. And my husband's eyes were like this. And I was like, okay, why is his eye so big? And then I looked at her hands and I was like, oh, great. Remember, I didn't want the epidural. So it's important to note that during all the cervix checks, every time a new induction medication was administered, I had no pain meds, no epidural. I'm just taking it all. And up until this point, I was okay. But when Nurse Fat Fingers did that cervix check and jammed her fat fingers up where the sun don't shine, I lost it. And she thought I was crying because of the pain. Now, yes, it was painful. I'm not going to lie. It hurt. Hers hurt. The other ladies, it wasn't so bad. I was like, okay, I can handle this. No epidural, no pain meds. Cool. When those fat fingers went up, I was frustrated at how many cervix checks that I had, that I felt as if my body was betraying me. On top of that, my plan wasn't going the way I wanted it to. So at that moment, I just had a moment. That was a moment. I just broke down crying. Not like boo-hoo crying, but I just had tears. And she's looking, she's like, I'm so sorry. Did I hurt you? And I wanted to be like, yes, come here, bring me your face. In that moment, I felt like my body had let me down. It betrayed me, didn't do what it was supposed to do. And it had been 30 hours. So this is mid-afternoon on Saturday. And I'm just ready. I'm ready for her to get here. It's okay if you have a moment during delivery. Hell, you deserve to have that moment, right? You're bringing life into this world. So it's okay if you have that moment. But remember to pump yourself up mentally. Tell yourself positive affirmations. You've got this. Focus on that baby coming into this world and put all your frustration and energy into getting your baby here safely. So after my moment, the doctor called my nurse and said, okay, go ahead and give her another induction medication. This one should really start her labor. Let me know if it doesn't. Now, this third induction medication still gives me the heebie-jeebies just to think about it. And you might know what I'm talking about if you've already had a baby. Yes, that's right. I was given Pitocin, the devil himself. The good thing about this devil is that my labor finally started. So by Saturday evening, I'm starting to get contractions. And the contractions in the beginning were very mild. And I was like, oh, I felt that. Okay. And before, remember, I didn't really feel the contractions. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, contraction. Whee. But now these contractions are getting more powerful. And I'm like, holy moly. I mean, it was sometimes I was like holding on, like, whoa, brace for impact. Okay. The contractions before, I didn't feel them, but now I definitely feel them. I see why people scream and holler. I'm not a screamer. I'm not a hollerer. That's not my style. But I felt the contractions. So they call my doctor. They're like, finally, she's dilated. By 9 p.m. on Saturday, I was finally around 3 centimeters dilated. I was pumped. I was energetic. I remember everyone in the room was finally smiling because we were going to meet this baby soon, right? I didn't realize it wasn't going to be on Saturday because I didn't have my daughter until Sunday. Make sure your doctor knows what you want. Make sure your husband, whoever's in the room with you, knows what you want. It was important to me to not have a C-section. I wanted to be able to push this baby out. So even though they tried 2 induction medications, I remember before that 3rd induction medication, the doctor says, you think you can do it? And she's on the phone talking to me. And I'm like, I think I can do it. I think if I didn't speak up for myself, if I didn't advocate for myself and let my doctor know exactly what I wanted, I think at that moment she probably would have pushed for a C-section. If you don't get anything else out of this video, I hope you at least understand the importance of self-advocacy. Make sure you speak up for yourself. And if you can't do it, make sure your husband, your partner, your mom, your doula, whoever's in the room with you knows exactly what you want, and continue to fight for that as long as it's safe. So after the Pitocin, things are progressing very quickly. I remember the contractions being really strong. By 11 p.m., my water broke. I was trying to do everything that I learned in the birthing classes. I was standing up. I was sitting on the yoga ball. I was rocking back and forth, using my husband. I mean, everything that I learned, I tried to implement when those contractions were really strong. I was able to deal with the contractions when I was out of the bed. However, the nurse came in at one point in time and she was like, you have to get in the bed. Your doctor doesn't want you moving around. So that kind of bummed me out because laboring in the bed for me was very difficult. The contractions after Pitocin were really strong. I couldn't think straight. I felt like every time they came, I would like tense up. I wouldn't remember anything. I kind of freaked out. The music was on. I told my husband, turn the music off. One time he was talking. I was like, stop talking. It just got to the point where things were getting real, right? So by midnight, I did ask for some kind of pain medication. And I don't even know the name of this pain medication. I'm going to have to ask my husband if he remembers. I just remember saying, I don't want the epidural yet. Give me some pain meds. Maybe I'll be able to better handle the contractions, right? So they give me some kind of pain medication, and literally it makes me loopy and it knocks me out when I'm not having contractions. So I'd be having contractions, I'd be feeling them, and then I'd be like out cold. Then I wake up with intense pain and I would be loopy. I remember at one point in time, I looked at my husband and my mom. I'm like, are we in a new room? And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, I think did I get moved when I was sleeping? And they're like, no, you're in the right room. At one point in time, they put an oxygen mask on me while I was sleeping. I wake up and I'm like having that oxygen mask and I'm trying to take it off. After I try to take the mask off, they're like, no, the baby's heart rate went up, so you have to leave the mask on. I mean, it was kind of, at that point, it was a little bit of a terrifying experience. And I remember looking at my husband and my mom and they kind of had worried faces. And I knew that I needed to get the epidural. I had done as much as I could without any intervention other than that crazy pain medication that didn't really take the pain away, it just knocked you out. I knew I needed to get the epidural. So around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I get the epidural, which to this day, I really wish there was a way that I could have labored outside the bed and maybe not had to get the epidural. But on the flip side, my daughter came here into this world and she is healthy and happy and thriving. So I got the epidural, and yeah, let's get into this epidural, okay? Comment below the word epidural if you or someone you know had to get an epidural. So with my epidural, I remember being in a lot of pain. The pain medication really wasn't working. So they were about to administer the epidural. And I guess before they administer the epidural, they stick you with another needle. I don't know what I thought, but when that other needle came, it was like a pinch, like a bee sting, like really fast. But they really didn't say, okay, here it comes. They kind of just did it. And I jumped. And I remember the look on my mom's face and my husband's face was like pure terror because they literally thought I was about to be paralyzed. And they're like, don't jump. You can't jump. And then the guy administering the epidural kind of chuckled. He was like, that wasn't the epidural. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you could have told me that. And in hindsight, our guy was a little bit of a jerk. Now that I'm through the whole experience, I know that. My husband was like, yeah, he was kind of rude. Just a little bit. So when the epidural finally was administered, I didn't jump, guys. One thing my nurse told me is to say pain, 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 and that helped. So as they were like sticking the needle in my back, I was literally saying pain, 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 because I was like, oh my gosh, I can feel that. Once it goes into your back, it's not so bad, but you do feel it. So just be prepared. Do not jump like me. Say pain, pain, pain through it, and you'll get through it. So by 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock after the epidural, I was out, honey. Knocked out. Best sleep of my life. I woke up around 8 o'clock in the morning and I was like, okay, I'm feeling the need to push a little bit. By 9 in the morning, I was about 8 to 9 centimeters. So she was like, yeah, baby's not ready yet, but you're close. And at that point, I just felt nothing but joy and excitement because I knew Sunday was the day. That's right. Admitted on Friday. Here we are Sunday on Father's Day. I knew that was the day that we were going to meet baby girl, and it was worth the wait for my husband. She's a Father's Day baby, which is great for him. So around 10-ish, 10 in the morning, I really felt the strong urge to push. My doctor was on her way. I'm like telling the nurse, no, I feel like I have to push right now. And I remember before I had my daughter, I was like, how do women know when to push? It's one of those things that people always tell you, you just know. You just have this strong urge to push. So I started pushing around 10 in the morning on Sunday, June 16th, and by 11:56 a.m. my daughter was born. The biggest, greatest blessing ever. All the time in the hospital, the cervix checks, the pain medication, the epidural, everything was worth it as soon as she came into this earth. So right after I delivered her, I remember feeling this like gush. It felt like an ocean was coming out. Like I was like, whoa. So you literally feel baby come out and then a gush, a strong gush. And the baby goes on your chest. Then you have to deliver the placenta, which for me, it was not painful. I know some women have said that delivering the placenta was painful. For me, it was just like a quick thing and it was out. So that was easy. I know some people ask all about well, how was your placenta delivery? It was fine. After they wipe her up, I figure out she's 9 pounds, 22.5 inches. She's crying. Daddy's over there with her. Everything's good. I'm like, oh my gosh. My mom's like, she's beautiful. It was just such a great moment. I was so excited. You feel so proud of yourself. Everything is worth it at that moment. It didn't matter what you went through to get that baby here. All you're thinking about is baby's here. She's crying. She's good. Everything looks good. While I'm on the high, doctor's down there just stitching me up because I had a 3rd-degree tear, which, whew, I don't wish that on anyone. But if it does happen to you, you will make it through. Just like me, your recovery is just going to be a little bit longer. So she's stitching me up and I'm like, hey doc, you know, you've been down there for a while. How many stitches? And she's like, I lost count. I'm like, you lost count? She's like, yeah, I lost count. But the good thing is you didn't tear all the way to your anus. I'm like, to my anus? I didn't even know that was a thing. So I'm learning things while the baby's over there with dad. I'm learning things that I never even imagined would happen to me. I heard of tearing, but I never imagined it would actually happen. Also, another thing I want to mention is that you can't feel your legs, which you probably know that, or maybe you don't, with the epidural. You can't feel your legs. Once the nurse came to start cleaning me up and I'm just with the baby, if I'm trying to breastfeed and everyone's just over the moon, I remember finally looking down and seeing blood everywhere. I remember the floor from the bed to the bathroom was a trail of blood. So I know they were monitoring me because I was bleeding really heavily, but everything was good. Make sure you speak up for yourself. If you're not feeling right, tell your husband, partner, whoever's in the room with you, take care of yourself. I felt fine once I could feel my legs. I freaked out when I was like, I can't feel my legs. Right? That's a little creepy. And then you're just in the room with your new baby and it's like, figure it out. The nurse went away for like an hour and then rolled me up to mom and baby, and that was that. If you want to know about my recovery after a 3rd-degree tear, comment below and say, do a video on recovery, and I will do that for you guys. But for right now, this video is just about my birth story, all 41 hours of how I had a plan and it didn't go according to plan, but I'm here to tell you that it will be okay. She believed she could, so she did, and you guys will. You will have an awesome delivery. I hope that your plan works out exactly how you planned it, but if it didn't, remember to roll with the punches. You can do it.